and the head itself, like a ton of shaped stone, lifted easily upon the sky. Its mouth was open, showing offensive teeth like large, sharp knives. Its huge eyes rolled, empty of all expression except hunger. It closed its mouth in a deathly smile. It ran, its body pushing trees and bushes out of the way, as if they were not there. As it moved, its feet dug into the wet earth, leaving footprints 6 inches deep wherever it put its weight. It ran far too smoothly for its 10 tons. It moved into an area of sunlight and suddenly stopped, its beautifully reptilian hands feeling the air. Why, said Eccles in wonder. It could reach up and take hold of the moon. Shh, Travis said angrily. He hasn't seen us yet. It can't be killed, Eccles said quietly, as if there was no argument. He had weighed the evidence, and this was his considered opinion. The rifle in his hand seemed a toy. We were fools to come. This is impossible. Shut up, whispered Travis. Nightmare. Turn around, commanded Travis. Walk quietly to the machine. We'll give you back half your fee. I didn't think it would be this big, said Eccles. I made a mistake, that's all, and now I want out. It sees us. There's the red paint on its chest. The great dinosaur raised itself. Its thick skin shone like 1,000 green coins. The coins were covered by thick, sticky liquid in which tiny insects moved. The whole body seemed to move, even though the monster itself stood still. It breathed out. The terrible smell of dead meat blew upon them. Get me out of here, said Eccles. It was never like this before. I was always sure I'd come through alive. I had good guides, good safaris, and safety. This time, I got it wrong. I met my match. This is too much for me to handle. Don't run, said L'Esperance. Turn around. Hide in the machine. Yes. Eccles seemed unable to move. He looked at his feet as if trying to make them walk. He gave a cry of helplessness. Eccles! He looked as if he could not understand what was happening and took a few small steps. Not that way! The monster, at the first motion, ran forward with a terrible scream. It covered 100 yards in 6 seconds. The rifles lifted and fired. The monster roared, teeth shining in the sun, and the smell of old blood that came from its mouth was all around them. The rifles fired again. Their sound was lost in a scream and dinosaur thunder. The reptile moved its great tail from side to side. Trees exploded in clouds of leaf and branch. The monster moved its small hands down toward the men to break them in half, to push them into its teeth and its screaming throat. Its eyes leveled with the men. They saw themselves mirrored. They fired at the wide black circle in the center of each eye. Like a mountain avalanche, Tyrannosaurus fell. Thundering, it held on to trees and pulled them with it. It pulled and tore the metal path. The men threw themselves back and away. The body hit 10 tons of cold meat and stone. The guns fired. The monster moved its heavy tail again, made a sudden movement of its neck, and lay still. A fountain of blood shot out from its throat. Somewhere inside, a bag of liquids broke open. Sickening sprays of blood and a terrible smelling liquid covered the hunters. They stood. The thunder died away. The jungle was silent. After the avalanche, a green peace. After the nightmare, morning. Billings and Kramer sat on the pathway and were sick. Travis and L'Esperance stood with smoking rifles, cursing. In the time machine, on his face, Eccles lay shaking. He had found his way back to the path, climbed into the machine. Travis came in, looked at Eccles, took some special cloth from a metal box, and returned to the others who were still sitting on the path. Clean up. They wiped the blood from their helmets. They began to curse too. The monster lay, a mountain of solid meat. Within, you could hear sounds as the furthest parts of it died, everything shutting off, closing down forever. It was like standing by the engine of a train that had just crashed. The weight of its body broke the tiny arms caught underneath. The meat settled, shaking. Another sound of something breaking. Far above, a giant tree branch broke off and fell. It crashed upon the dead dinosaur with finality. There, L'Esperance checked his watch. Right on time. That's the branch that was supposed to fall and kill this animal originally. He looked at the two hunters. You want a picture? What? We can't take a piece of it back to the future. The body has to stay right here where it would have died originally, so the insects, birds, and bacteria can get at it as they were meant to. Everything in balance. The body stays, but we can take a picture of you standing next to it." The two men tried to think, but gave up, shaking their heads. They let themselves be led along the metal path. They sank into their seats in the machine. They looked back at the dead monster, where already strange birds and golden insects were busy at the thick skin. A sound on the floor of the time machine made them turn. Eccles sat there, shaking. "I'm sorry," he said at last. "Get up," cried Travis. Eccles got up. "Get out on that path alone," said Travis. He held his rifle, pointed. "You're not coming back in the machine. We're leaving you here." L'Esperance held Travis's arm. "Wait. Stay out of this." Travis shook his hand away. "This fool nearly killed us, but it isn't that so much, no. It's his shoes. Look at them. He ran off the path. That could destroy our business. We'll lose thousands of dollars. We have a contract with the government that says no one leaves the path. He left it. Oh, the fool. I'll have to report it. They might not let us travel anymore. Who knows what he's done to time, to history." "Take it easy. All he did was kick up some dirt." "How do we know?" cried Travis. "We don't know anything. No one knows. Get out of here, Eccles." Eccles felt for his shirt. "I'll pay anything. $100,000. Travis looked angrily at Eccles' checkbook and spat. "Get out there. The monster's next to the path. Stick your arms up to your elbows in his mouth. Then you could come back with us." "That's not fair. The monster's dead, you fool. The bullets can't be left behind. They shouldn't be left in the past. They might change something. Here's my knife. Dig them out." The jungle was alive again, full of the old movements and bird cries. Eccles turned slowly to look at the hill of nightmares and fear. After a long time, like someone walking in their sleep, he walked off slowly along the path. He returned shaking 5 minutes later. His arms were covered in blood to the elbows. He held out his hands. Each held a number of steel bullets. Then he fell. He lay where he fell, not moving. "You didn't have to make him do that," said L'Esperance. "Didn't I? It's too early to tell." Travis pushed the still body with his foot. "He'll live. Next time he won't go hunting game like this." "Okay." With a tired movement of his thumb, he gave the signal to start the machine. "Switch on," he said. "Let's go home." 1492, 1776, 1812. They cleaned their hands and faces. They changed their dirty shirts and pants. Eccles was up and moving around again, not speaking. Travis gave him an angry look for a full 10 minutes. "Don't look at me," cried Eccles. "I haven't done anything." "Who can tell?" Just ran off the path, that's all. A little mud on my shoes. What do you want me to do? Get down and pray?" "We might need it. I'm warning you, Eccles. I might kill you yet. I've got my gun ready." "I've done nothing wrong. It'll be okay." 1999, 2000, 2055. "Get out," said Travis. The room was there as they had left it, but not the same as they had left it. The same man sat behind the same desk, but the same man did not quite sit behind the same desk. Travis looked around quickly. "Everything okay here?" he said sharply. "Fine. Welcome home." Travis did not relax. He seemed to be looking through the one high window. "Okay, Eccles, get out. Don't ever come back." Eccles could not move. "You heard me," said Travis. "What are you looking at?" Eccles stood, smelling the air. There was something different about it, a difference so slight that he could not identify it. The colors, white, gray, blue, orange, in the wall, in the furniture, in the sky outside, were not quite right, and there was a strange feel. His body and hands did not feel right. He stood, sensing the oddness in every part of his body. Somewhere, someone must have been blowing one of those whistles that only a dog can hear. His body screamed silence in return. Outside the room, away from this man seated at the desk, which are both not quite the same desk, lay a whole world of streets and people. What sort of world was it now? There was no telling. He could not feel them moving out there. But the immediate thing was the sign painted on the office wall. The same sign he had read earlier today on first entering. Somehow, the sign had changed. Time Safari Inc. Safaris to any year in the past. You name the animal, we take you there. You shoot it. Eccles felt himself falling into a chair. He looked at the thick mud on his boots. He broke off a piece of the mud and held it up shaking. No, it can't be. Not a little thing like that. No. Stuck in the mud was a brightly colored butterfly. Very beautiful and very dead. Not a little thing like that. Not a butterfly, cried Eccles. It fell to the floor, more delicate and colorful than anything seen in this world. A small thing that could upset balances and cause small changes, and then big changes, and then huge changes, all down the years across time. Eccles' mind raced. It couldn't change things. Killing one butterfly couldn't be that important, could it? His face was cold. He asked in a frightened voice, Who won the presidential election yesterday? The man behind the desk laughed. You joking? You know very well. Deutscher, of course. Who else? Not that weak fool Keith. We have got an Iron Man now. A man who isn't afraid of anyone or anything. The official stopped. What's wrong? Eccles gave out a long, low cry as if in pain. He dropped to his knees. He tried to pick up the green and gold butterfly with shaking fingers. Can't we? He pleaded to the world, to himself, to the officials, to the machine. Can't we take it back? Can't we make it alive again? Can't we start over? Can't we? He did not move. Eyes shut, he waited shivering. He heard Travis breathe loudly. He heard Travis lift his rifle, click the safety catch, and raise the weapon. There was a sound of thunder.